Good Wednesday afternoon or good evening, everybody. My name is Larisha Owens, and I'm going to just talk to you a little bit tonight. I'm taking this amazing class, my last two graduate classes, and I will graduate in December. I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm finally graduating with a master's degree. Um, I was I started school late, so this is an exciting time for me. But this particular class that I'm taking is Fall Diversity and Transition in the Family. And I have learned so much in this class. Not only am I taking this class, I'm actually working on, and I've been doing this for the last 2 years. So I'm working on a equity leadership team. I'm an eighth grade middle school teacher. So I'm part of the leadership equity team. So we've done workshops. I'm just learning all kinds of things when it comes to diversity and just the world that we live in. So I always use that word, well, they use that word a lot these days called, they say, oh, she's woke. So I'm now woke or awake. So that's the beauty of when you open your mind. As like I said, as a middle school teacher, I'm always telling my kids, you guys open your mind. You don't want to just think one way or think like your parents or think like your friends. Open your mind. And that's what I've done, especially with this class and just the things that I'm learning. My mind is just open. When you receive such rich information, you want to pass it on. So that's the purpose of my video today, is just to pass on the information and what I've observed over the last couple of years, and even through this class, what I've learned, because it has been a great class. I'm going to start out with defining the word race. Race is defined as that the human species is divided into distinct groups based on inherited physical behavioral differences. Genetic studies late in the 20th century refuted the existence of biogenetically distinct races, and scholars now argue that races are cultural interventions reflecting specific attitudes and beliefs that were imposed on different populations in the wake of Western European conquest beginning in the 15th century. All right? That's how they define race. Racism, and that's a word that we're hearing a lot about today. Racism, 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 racism here, racism there. Racism is defined as the belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities, especially to distinguish themselves as superior or inferior to one another. Think about that. The belief that different races possess different characteristics, abilities, or qualities, especially to distinguish themselves as inferior or superior to one another. As an African American woman, phenomenal woman, wife, mother, daughter, sister, educator, coach, friend, I've been blessed to meet people from all races. My husband, my father, they were military men, which provided me contact with an array of people and places. I've lived, you guys, I was born in Japan. I've lived in Germany. I've lived in New York. I've lived in the South, Alabama. I've lived in Oklahoma. I have lived in a lot of places. And I consider myself lucky because a lot of people don't get the, the opportunity to live in as many places or visit as many places and spend a long period of time like I have. And I look at that as a blessing because I think the way I've been raised as a military brat and an army brat and a military wife, that has helped me to open my mind. My parents they never raised us to believe, and my mom and dad were born in a low country town, Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. But my dad took us out of the box and took us around the world, and we were never taught one color was superior to the other. My mom, she says they often laugh at her because, on her desk, she's got a picture of her whole family, my husband and I, my sister and her husband, my brother and his wife, and their kids. My brother's married to a white female. My sister's married to a Puerto Rican guy. So they call us the United Nations because that's the way we were raised. We're not. We see this racism around us, but that's not the world we live in. And we love so hard, and we love with a big heart. We don't see, well, you can't bring that person home because they're white, or you can't bring. My parents never rolled like that. So I think about just the different people that I have been blessed to meet. When I think about my life, I think about one of the favorite books that I used to read to my kids, and I tell my students this all the time. Dr. Seuss, oh, the places you will go. I go one step further as I say, oh, the places you will go and the people you will meet. With an open mind and heart, we can go so many places and meet so many beautiful people. That's, as a middle school teacher, as a mom, that's what I've always wanted my kids to know because it starts young. Kids don't see color when they're young. They're taught that. So even with my kids in middle school, 8th grade, we give them these lessons. They're called P2. So it's character traits. We give them these lessons to learn how to have a certain character, how to treat people, how to tolerate, and how people should treat you. My life has been good. I've been able to take advantage of the opportunities that my ancestors as slaves lost their lives fighting to get. I'm educated. I'm able to vote. I have the best health care. I bought a home. I bought a couple of homes, which, it's been a blessing. The list is endless. However, what I've learned, no matter how many things that I've done, accomplishments, even getting ready to get this master's degree, I'm still a Black woman in white America. And no matter how many degrees and houses and cars, I'm still perceived as a threat to a race that believes me and people that look like me, we don't belong in this country. We call the land of the free. They don't think we should be here. We have a president that says, send them back. Send them back. The man in charge of us in this country is saying, send them back. We belong here just like anybody else belongs here. We've earned our spot just like everybody else has. Even though, and we talk a lot, I think as an African American woman or African American period, we thought having Barack Obama in the White House and now having an African American woman, Kamala, in the White House, we see ourselves moving up, and that's solving the problem. That doesn't solve the problem. We're making progress, but we're the ones that solve the problem, right? Even though we have a vice president that is Black, we've had a Black president. My husband said it best. Kamala Harris, as the vice president, she's the second most powerful person in the world next to the president. This woman is going to make decisions for us. They're not angry that Joe Biden's in the White House. They're angry because this Black African American woman has that much power that she's going to be in charge of this nation. She's going to be able to make these decisions for you and I'm okay with her making decisions. I've looked at her background. But these white people, they're not happy with that. They're angry, all right? They're angry. He made that point, and I didn't think of it like that. That they're not angry because he's in the White House. They're angry because President Trump, he's made it okay to say, Black people are this, let's change the neighborhood. We've had a hard enough time buying a house. Now he's got the suburban moms thinking, you know what? I'm going to fix your neighborhood. I'm going to get rid of these programs and stuff so the Black people can't move in the neighborhood. That's not good. That's not good. Better yet, he says that, we had the thing that happened in Virginia where he says the white supremacists are good people. That's the world we're living in. That's the leader that we have today. And that's where we go back to thinking a group of people that think that they're superior and inferior than another group. Political legislative decisions are still controlled by white males. The majority are white males. Even though we're trying to change this world and the Democrats are taking this house and it's more black, it's still ran majority by white males. This negative bias are often expressed through policy formation. There's an obvious trend in this society to discriminate against and deny access to social institutions to any race that is not white, especially African Americans. Especially African Americans, we have to fight hard. Even like I said, we get our degrees and stuff. We do well. We can live in the nicest neighborhood. We still have to fight for that stuff that we want. It doesn't come easy. According to Leonard and Locke, African Americans are described with primarily pejorative stereotypes. For African American males, these qualities include violent, thuggish, dominant, and lazy. African American females, loud, lazy, sexually hyperactive. The list goes on and on. Myself, I think about the ones that I used to work with, the people that I work with, and if I can't say how I feel, I'm afraid to express myself, or I watch what I say because I don't want them to think that I'm the loud, angry black female. So I watch what I say. And that's been in the past. I think now that I'm taking more of my diversity classes and I'm really learning to use my voice, I'm more vocal. But I didn't want to be put in that stereotype as loud and angry black female. Not only are we going to look at the African Americans, we look at Arabs and Muslim Americans who went from being before 9/11, they were considered invisible citizens. Now they're visible at post 9/11, they're considered visible subjects. Arab American writers use the trope invisibility to refer to the place of Arab Americans within the dominant U.S. discourse on race and ethnicity. One of the common themes in the literature was that while most governments' definitions classify Arab Americans as white, popular U.S. discourse tend to represent Arabs as different from the inferior to whites. That was something that I learned, you guys. I never even knew. So I think about the census. I never realized that Arab Americans were considered white, but through these readings that I've looked, they don't consider themselves white. They're not treated, even though they're counted in that census count to make it a big population of whites. They're not considered. They don't feel like they're white. They still are looked down and considered terrorists and calling all these names. So where they might be called white on that census and in that government count, they're not considered white. Arabs are different from the inferior whites. Helen Samana epitomized this perspective by referring to the racialization of Arab Americans within the U.S. government. Racial schemes as white, but not quite. And that goes back to where I said, even though the government counts them in their white count to make them the majority, the Arabs are counted in there. The writers are saying no, even though we're counted in there, we're white, but not quite. Joanne Kadai argued that Arab Americans are the most invisible of invisibles. Invisible of invisibles. So we're invisible just like they feel like African Americans do. We have this place, we've worked so hard to be here, but you're treating us like this. And post 9/11, the abuse and treatment became even worse. Further look at Latinos. Latinos are included individuals whose roots are from Mexico, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Central and South Americas. They are the largest racial minority in the United States, making up 17.8% of the population. By 2100, they are projected to make up 1/3 of the U.S. population due to high birth rates, immigration patterns, and the average age of the population. And just think, we have a president that's got them locked up at the border or making it building walls and stuff, and Latinos are our highest population. What I didn't understand is we have people that believe that they shouldn't be here, and this is the largest the majority of our population is Latinos, And I just can't understand how the negativity against Latinos, Mexicans, how that is so prevalent. And this is what makes up the world, is the large quantity of Latinos. Asian Americans currently make up 5% of our population. And you guys, you can hear as I'm talking, it's not just white. There's so many of us that are bigger populations than just that white group. Asian Americans currently make up 5%, think about that, of the US population. The collective, what makes up that group? 4 ethnic groups, 29 in the Asian category, including Asian Indians. I'm a middle school teacher in Cary, North Carolina, Cary/Mooresville. I have 172 students. Out of my students, 70 of those kids are Asian Indians. I used to live in Cary, and I often, between job and just going back and forth. Morrisville, North Carolina, they've got their own, it just looks like we went to India when you go to Morrisville, North Carolina, because that's what the population looks like. I have a best friend, she's Indian from Philadelphia, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She comes down to visit, and she's most comfortable here because she says that she doesn't even see that large of a group of Indian population in Philadelphia. Here in North Carolina, country North Carolina, is where that largest group of Asian Indians live. The group also consists of Chinese, Filipinos, Koreans, Japanese, Vietnamese, and 15 in the Pacific Islander category, which includes from Hawaii, Guam, Samoa. Most Asian Americans come from recent immigrant families. And that's the one theme that I see in my diversity class is the word immigrant. Immigrant. Everybody came to America. I don't laugh and jokingly. We were brought here not because we wanted to. Most of the immigrants come here for the land of the dream. That's what America is considered to these immigrants. But African Americans, we were brought here. We didn't want to come here. We were brought here. So the running theme in my diversity class was immigrants. That's how they got here for that better life, immigrant families. I can go on for days, you guys, about diversity groups of people that make up the United States of America. That's what saddens me the most when I just look at what's going on around us. It makes me angry too. When I turn on the TV and deal with people that still cannot accept this world that we live in, the United States of America 2020, it's not just white. White is the minority in the United States of America. No matter how they want to look at it, no matter how they want to fight it, they are the minority. We are the majority, and we're not going nowhere. It's sad to say there's a lot of killing you're going to have to do. There's a lot of sending them back that you've got to do to get rid of us. We're here to stay. Thinking about the white people, when we go back to immigrants, the first wave of whites came to America in the 1800s. The second wave followed in the 1880s. They were not Americans, though. They were Eastern and Southern immigrants from Poland, Italy, Greece, Armenia, Russia, and many other countries that assimilated with already established. So they just came in and mixed themselves in to make white Americans the larger ethnicity in America. So they're not even all just pure white. They were from other countries too. They were immigrants. They came here, and that's what made that large popularity of white ethnicity in America. I'm telling you, when I read this stuff, it blew. We learn our history, but when you go deep into these classes that teach you, the different backgrounds, when you're looking at different races, when you're going deep into it, they don't teach us this in high school and elementary school. We just learn about the white world. This world is diverse. That's the world we live in. It makes me laugh when I hear a white person complain about being discriminated and mistreated. I still can't figure that one out. There was a man I met that said to me, if you want help from the government, if you're white, you ain't gonna get it. If you're black, you get it. More than half of whites, 55%, they did a survey, said that they believe they were discriminated against. White people say that in America today. I don't know. Even the poorest white person will still get better treatment than a black person or a person of color or a different race. The poorest white person, because of their white skin and their white privilege, will get better treated than a black person. This man also stated it's been going on for decades, and it's only going to get worse. So he believes that they've been mistreated. It's been going on for decades, and it's only going to get worse for whites. I don't know what planet. I'm still trying to figure that out, and maybe I need to interview more whites and really listen to the white perspective. But like I said, I did Racial Institute, and all I've seen is how whites have came in and taken stuff from Indians, and how they came in and taken stuff. I very rarely see where whites have been mistreated. Data shows, and that's the thing. They can say it all day long, or they might feel that because a black person might be able to get into a college because they're black, and you have to have a certain amount of minorities into a Ivy League school or something. That might be what they're talking about. I don't know. But data shows whites continue, no matter how they feel like they're discriminated, they're better off financially, they're better off educationally, other than other minority groups. The white person is better off in these things. So to get education, to get financial help, white people are better off. We continue to see in 2020, black and brown people are still being mistreated. I mean, no matter how far we come up on the pole, no matter, like I go back to saying how educated we are, we still have to watch how we are, because they're watching. They watch us, and it's just, I always feel like, as a mom especially, I have a 27-year-old son. When he walks out the door, my 23-year-old, I feel like they have a target on their back. Me, I don't know what it is. I still feel kind of safe, but my kids, I worry about them more than anything. I know that sounds crazy, but in the world that we live in, I feel okay. I don't feel like somebody will really mess with me, but for my kids, my African American son, and even my daughter, because she can be lippy, I worry about that. But we're still being mistreated, even killed in America. I mean, on TV, you can see that. We understand that we're still targets. White people will continue to benefit from their white privilege. I read a book, one of our book studies for work was white privilege. And, just being white, just because you have that color of your skin, you are allowed so many things that we can't, we have to work hard. We have to bust our butts to get, and still we only get a little nugget of that. Obtaining cultural competency requires frank, often uncomfortable discussions about race and ethnicity. I look at my coworkers, and that with Wake County, because they had so many cases, they felt like they were targeting the black males. They were having more write-ups for black males in the Wake County school system. And a couple of things happened with administration. They started to revamp Wake County school system. So this has just started over the last 3 years. Actually, I've been teaching for 4 years, and the equity training and stuff has really, they're really honing in on that. So I can often hear my coworkers, and mind you, I told you they're all white in my department, oh, another equity training, I don't know why we have to keep doing this and why they keep making things black and white. Things are black and white, they'll tell me, oh, Coach Owens, I like you, and I love you, and I don't see any color. I don't see any, they say this to me all the time. And anytime you have to say that and convince yourself that you don't see any color, then that right there, you're a problem. They don't want to have these conversations. They're upset because they are required to go through these trainings and learn about race. But they have to, because this is the world. When I watch these teachers mistreat and talk to, and I even hear the conversations, how they treat African American kids or Indian kids or a child that might have a disability. I had one coworker say, for me, I'll take and alter my lessons for a person that can't speak English. That white male coworker will say, I'm not doing all that extra work. So that bothers me that you would put this person in that type of position to educate a kid and you don't feel like you should do that extra step. These conversations demand confidentiality and personal responsibility for one's words and actions. Special attention. Special attention must be given to the psychological pain caused by racism. White people will never get it. White people, and I'm telling you, I can watch, just different things, stories where you see that a black man has sat in jail for 40 years for a crime that he didn't get or commit. White people will never understand the things that we have as black people went through to get where we are. And it's pain. It's pain. Even now, it's still pain. When you look at how your ancestors were cheated, you watch a movie, you can feel that pain. The pain for me now is that we're still going through this, even though we've made much progress, that we're still dealing with this issue. Only through self-honesty and sustained commitment to learning can help cognitively transform from ethnocentrism to ethno-relativism. Only self-honesty and sustained commitment. You got to be committed to this fight. And that's what I said when it comes to my kids, making a future for my kids, helping my students be happy with the skin that they're in. I'm committed to that. And I'm committed to having this conversation in order to transform this world that we live in. It's a commitment. And that's what I'm here to do. So with classes like my diversity classes, the workshops that I get to do, it only makes me stronger in this fight, in this work of racism and fighting racism. We live in a good world, and it's worth fighting for, and it's worth making equal for my kids, for my students, for those people that are not white. That's what it's about. That's what this video is about, is, making you aware of the things that's going on and opening your mind to look at things different. Thank you for your time, and remember that we have to do this work, you guys. We have to do it. In order for us to have, we have to have these hard conversations and be honest and commit to making this world a better place, because America is beautiful. The colors that we have, that's what makes America beautiful, is that it's not just white. It's white, it's black, it's Asian, Puerto Rican, Latin, who am I missing? Asian, Indian. I mean, that's what makes it rich, like a good chocolate. Thank you for listening. I have enjoyed this YouTube video. I hope you enjoy it. Get into the work, get into the fight, and live a good life. Open your mind. Open your mind. Oh, the places you will go. Oh, the places you will go, and the people you will meet. That's what I want you to think about.